Hello, and welcome to Chapter 5, which is focusing on the many uses and benefits of medical technology. What we're going to be focusing on in this lecture is a couple of different aspects of medical technology, not just the role that health information technology has played in healthcare, but also the wide range of significant contributions that advances in other kinds of technologies, whether it be in medical devices or in the development of new pharmaceuticals, to look at all of the different ways in which new technologies have been developed and have been diffused across the U.S. healthcare system, and how that impacts healthcare not just in this country, but also at a global level. And so we're going to consider many different facets of medical technology, and obviously medical technology has really changed how managers interact with the healthcare system. Everything that we did in healthcare up until just about a decade ago was done on paper. The way we reviewed the performance of our employees was done on paper. When we had to review medical files, we had to actually go pull a physical file. Now, all of the work that we do as healthcare providers and healthcare managers usually is in electronic format. So health IT really has transformed the way in which managers perform their functions, which really means that as a healthcare manager now, you have no choice but to really be familiar with medical technology, particularly health information technology. At another level, understanding health technologies and the way medical technologies is changing the way providers practice is really important to being an effective healthcare manager. Understanding the significant investments that will need to be made in order to acquire and improve and maintain medical technology is another really important aspect of this. So depending on the area in which you specialize and where you're engaged in healthcare management, technology may play more of a role or less of a role. If you're working in radiology, for example, these are very expensive, very high-powered scanning machines and other kinds of equipment. In primary care or medical education, there might be less technology, but there certainly isn't going to be no technology. So you really need to become facile with the role that medical technology plays across the healthcare field. Of course, technology has been a blessing for the healthcare industry. It has improved our quality and our outcomes. It has reduced complications. If you think about some of the most basic medical technologies, think about the X-ray. Prior to having the X-ray machine, we were not able to visualize inside the body to be able to perform surgeries, for example. We couldn't know if a bone was broken. So just that most basic example shows the ways in which innovations in medical technology really have transformed healthcare. However, the very first X-ray machine only existed in a couple of healthcare institutions around the world. Technology imposes a major burden on society, primarily due to cost. Not just the cost of acquiring the machines, but the cost of developing and researching and studying the development of these technologies is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so while we have an amazingly technologically sophisticated healthcare system in the United States and around the world, it comes at a cost. And so one of the big questions, and in fact one of the questions I'll be asking you to think about this week in the online discussion board, is to think about when technology is worth the cost and maybe when it's not, when certain kinds of innovations perhaps aren't worth the societal investment, the changes in how healthcare is delivered, to think about when healthcare is improved by technology and maybe when it isn't. The changes caused by medical technology really are very dramatic. It fueled the ability to have specializations in medicine, for us to have fields like radiology or interventional radiology, to have fields like pathology, to have oncology or cancer care. All of these innovations and specializations have been fueled by advances in medical technology. What we also see is that many of these highly specialized services, like cancer chemotherapy or radiology or certain kinds of interventional procedures, even things like colonoscopies, Through advances in medical technology, they've been able to be removed from the inpatient setting and moved to outpatient settings where they can be performed at lower cost and more efficiently. So in many ways, medical technology, while it requires a significant investment on the part of the healthcare system, can often result in cost savings and ultimately reduced expenditures both for patients and for health systems. So it's really about analyzing, as we're going to talk about a little bit later in this lecture, the cost-benefit analysis and the relative cost effectiveness of any new health technology to know whether or not these changes in how healthcare is delivered, these changes in how certain kinds of activities are done and in which settings they're done, really results in a net cost savings or perhaps an increase in healthcare expenditures. What we see is that this level of specialization and the requirement to really evaluate health technology has been driven by the astronomical cost of these new technologies and medical devices that are coming to the market. And so one of the questions that we always have to ask is, just because we have the capacity to develop a new medical technology doesn't mean that we should. And even if we already have developed that technology, the decision to deploy that on a population level and to use that technology, and this has been true in the cases of screening tests. There's been big controversy. A great example of this has been around PSA screening, right? There's this new test that can be done to test people for prostate cancer. It's relatively less invasive than other types of screenings. However, when we looked at the cost benefit of implementing this technology, what we found was that in fact PSA screening for prostate cancer resulted in a significant number of false positives, or people who were told that they had prostate cancer that did not. And that when you looked at the effectiveness of screening for prostate cancer and treating prostate cancer with early intervention, which is allowed by the offering of this test, versus later intervention, what the studies found is that there wasn't actually any net benefit in terms of the longevity or the improved level of outcome from offering PSA screening into younger men versus older men. And so through what we call that health technology assessment, through that evaluation of the relative costs and benefits of doing these kinds of procedures, what we found was that early age PSA screening wasn't something that really could be supported and paid for by Medicare and supported by the federal government, because it didn't work out on the cost benefit analysis. So let's take a step back and first ask, what is medical technology? In the textbook, you see a wide range of examples, including things like medical devices, like hip joint replacements. What you also see are diagnostic tests and machinery like CAT scans, blood pressure monitor systems. So it's any kind of scientific or body of knowledge that is being applied to improving and creating greater efficiency in the delivery of healthcare. So that could be pharmaceuticals, that could be these diagnostic machines and tests, it could be things like telemedicine, it could even be things like nanotechnology or nanomedicine, right? So it's about taking a certain body of knowledge in science, whether it's chemistry or physics or nanotech, and applying it in very specific uses of medical technology. One of course, the biggest areas in healthcare now that's really revolutionizing healthcare is information technology. So this is not a specific medical technology. Many of the principles and ideas behind health information technology are similar, whether it's health information technology or business information technology, whether it is any other kind of business-related data. But these are the things that hopefully you will become very familiar with throughout this program, including medical record systems or electronic medical record systems or EHRs, radiology and lab reporting systems, pharmacies, and others. And nearly all systems related to health information management or operations management use some form of IT reporting system to gather, assemble, and analyze information about the performance of an organization. how information technology is specifically applied in healthcare is in a number of different ways. So there are clinical information systems, right? These are the systems that when you pull up your record, it shows your health history, it shows what current treatments you're on. These clinical information systems allow for clinicians and providers to make and have information about the patient encounter. There also are administrative information systems. So these are the financial systems, other kinds of support, materials management systems, ordering systems, all of those kinds of things. And then there are also decision support tools. These are the pieces of software or systems that exist to help healthcare managers analyze the decisions that clinicians are making and that help support clinicians in knowing what is the appropriate treatment or what is the appropriate follow-up time for this particular patient. So these decision support systems really take a lot of the guesswork out of clinical care, given the vast number of recommendations that exist, the vast number of different kinds of drug interactions that may exist. All of those things are facilitated by decision support systems that help ensure that clinicians are making the right decision for that particular patient. Related to health information technology is health informatics. Informatics is going beyond just having the representation or the sharing of data. So it uses information technology, but it goes beyond that to really focus on how to improve or make healthcare more efficient or higher quality. So a great example of this would be a clinical decision support system. So a system that is designed to take all of the data that currently exists about the treatment of, let's say, prostate cancer, and it funnels through that decision support system all of the particular parameters of this given patient and all of the evidence that we know about the appropriate treatment of prostate cancer, and goes through a decision tree and a set of rubrics to ultimately, at the end of it, recommend to the provider, these are the tests that should be run, these are the things that should be offered to this patient, so that everything that the patient is doing is based out of a provider's recommendation that is evidence-based. And what evidence-based means is making it based on the most current, scientifically validated evidence that is out there in the healthcare literature at the time. Now, electronic health records, many of you are probably very familiar with these. If you're already working in healthcare, you already are using these electronic health records on a daily basis, probably on an hourly basis. And what we see for electronic health records is it allows for us to move away from the old system of a paper chart with handwritten notes, with a very basic description about the patient and all of the history, to having that all being electronically stored and being able to be queried much more quickly. It results in less data loss, it results in less medical errors, and it also allows for the health informatics and analytics to be done on a wide range of patients at the same time. So a lot of the clinical decision support tools have been developed and improved upon through the aggregation of information from individual patient health records that have been brought together to analyze and to see how decisions are actually being made by providers and to come up with best practices, not just from the academic medical literature, but also from current medical practice. The key components of electronic health records, if you've never used one or seen one before, so it is used to collect and store health information about patients that can be stored over time. If you have an electronic health record for yourself as a patient, you don't have to carry pieces of paper or copies of scans around with you. All of that information, all of your test results, all of your diagnoses are all located in one electronic place.